guess I better go ahead and talk about EX Arm, considering that I did make a video about this. I did watch the first episode of the show, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about this anime, because this is like the worst anime ever made, and I'm going to go ahead and leave my criticisms of this anime and say what I have to say and be brutally honest with you guys about it and what I think. Most of my opinions are not expert or anything like that, but I'm going to go ahead and try my best to make it sound like I'm an expert, but I'm not. So, the thing about the animation that everyone's been talking about, yes, they are actually using a technique called layering, which is basically using 3D and 2D animation, which they are blending the two together in order to layer it together and make it look cohesive. But the problem is, especially with the character designs and everything that they did with it, they tried to use like 90% of it was 3D or 10% of it was 2D, but at the same time, you know, you could tell that they were mostly using the reverse version of it, which was basically 90% of it was animation and 10% of it was 2D, or they did the whole back and forth thing with this show. Considering that I used to remember listening to Gonzo talk about this in their own panel that they did back in 2000, in the early 2000s, I used to remember them listening to how they actually did animation. When they used the techniques of 3D and 2D animation, they tried to blend those techniques perfectly well to make the animation look better. But the problem with this one, especially with EX Arm, is that I don't even think they had the experience to do it well, considering that they did this. I think they did this under budget, to be brutally honest with you. And the fact that they could have gotten feedback for this and tried to at least improve it a little bit more, but the problem is they were pretty much rushing this, and you could tell that they rushed this pretty badly. Because you can tell by looking at the character design and everything, especially the 3D models. The 3D models looked terrible, especially the proportions and everything were just so bad. And the fact that they basically look so uneven and unedged, they just basically made them look bad. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to comment down below and tell me that I'm either right or wrong about this. But looking at the way they did this, it was very terrible. The animation studio in question is known as Visual Flight. That's basically what they call themselves, according to Wikipedia. Now, looking at the research, I don't see a website or anything like that about them, other than the fact that they are just known for this one particular anime, and I guess they just started out. I did find something interesting, especially the writer, whose name is Tommy Morton, which basically, it turns out he writes for Crunchyroll. Yeah, it's obvious. Yes, he's an employee of Crunchyroll, and Crunchyroll sponsored this, so yeah. Duh, Mr. Obvious. Yeah, I know. I had to do that. I'd also like to add some criticisms to this and say right now, especially the characters' faces and the facial expressions were so awkward, and they looked so awkward when they were staring in front. It was just so bad. I hate to say this, a lot of people were laughing at this. Even when I showed it in the first video that I did about EX Arm, it was so terrible looking at their faces. It was just so awkwardly weird facial expressions that they did in the show. And it just saddens me to say, I will have to say that they did a terrible job. And I actually looked up the manga from unofficial channels, and it turns out the manga looks good. It wasn't terrible like the anime. It had a far solid storyline that made sense, even though it was a bit anichi and it was funny, but at the same time it tries to tell a good story. But it's a shame that the anime couldn't convey it very well enough to actually tell the story well. If you look at the art and you look at the style that they created in, it was beautiful, but it's a shame that what they did to this anime made it turn into a bad meme and a joke. And I feel sorry for High Rock and the artist that made this, because this anime will ruin the reputation of their work that they worked so hard, especially this was independently created. And I'm not going to blame the manga creators for this, because I understand they put a lot of effort and work into their stuff, but unfortunately the animators didn't put any effort into working on this. And you can tell they didn't put enough effort to care. They just basically put it out there and got a paycheck and just go. And surprisingly, this is going to be 12 episodes. 12. And it's going to be a laughing stock on the internet right now. How do you feel about that? This is kind of sad to look at, because of the fact that you put your work out there. 4chan's going to probably get upset with me for saying this, and I'm going to say it anyways. That character from EX Arm, the villain that they had, that was like, whatever the heck his character's name was, I don't care. But anyways, the funny thing is, he almost looks like that guy from the DXX series, and I forgot the character's name. I never got to play it, but I did play the Square Enix version of it. But I find it hilarious that it almost looks like the meme that you guys always post every time about DSX, and it's funny to look at. But that's my harsh criticism of this. Anyways, guys, leave your thoughts down below and tell me what you think of this, because I have to go. Bye-bye.